How about now? Hopefully that worked. Yeah, that, I mean, just goes to show how often I do these live streams. And of course, I messed it up right away. Can you guys hear me now? Someone let me know that you can hear me, and we'll be good to go. Perfect. Okay. Wow. How embarrassing. So yeah, as I was saying while I was muted, is that this is the first live stream I've done in a long time. I can't remember the last time. It might have been like a Friday the 13th, but it was like last year. Anyway, this is kind of a big event. We've been waiting for I Know What You Did Last Summer for a while now, and it's finally upon us. And the reviews have been very interesting, to say the least. So I already did my review. Hopefully, you guys saw it. If not, this is going to be spoilers. We're going to be chatting about things that will ruin the movie if you haven't seen it. Um, oh my god, it's 3 a.m. It is. For some people, I would presume. But thank you for joining us. What was I gonna say now? Right. So yeah, I'm planning on doing quite a bit of I Know What You Did Last Summer content. I already did the predictions video, so I'm gonna have to like react to that. Clearly, we're gonna have a Who Killed Who, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I'm sure a lot of people will be excited for. I'm very interested in how that's gonna go because I don't think that this is a movie that really went about its production with a Who Killed Who scenario in mind. So that's gonna be a bit of a challenge for me. Michael Chin watching from Chicago. Hey, Chicago. Vasco from Portugal. Hey. It's 9 p.m. over in the Motionless Day. But yeah, thank you guys for coming out and being part of this because there's a lot of things I have to say about this movie. Firstly, I should say, I mean, if you saw my ranking, it's third. It's below the first two movies. I don't want to say it's a horrible movie because that would just be very hyperbolic of me. I did have a good time in it, but ultimately, I think that there's just a lot of problems with the script that really pissed me off. But over the like, I've been contemplating it for like the last few days because I saw it on Thursday, and I'm kind of obsessed with how bad everything is. Like that's the thing. Like I'm still talking about it, and you can't really look at a movie like this and call it a failure if there are so many people talking about it. And actually, I think as of right now, it has grossed 24, $25 million over its opening weekend, which is made back its budget and more because it was 18 million. I don't know what the marketing situation was. There seemed to be a lot of marketing, but that's good. I mean, I don't really like pay attention to like the box office forecast and all that. I know that they were saying like 12 to 13. I'm assuming they just meant domestic because part of that is the overseas numbers as well. But hopefully this is good, and it just means that not necessarily for this franchise, but that we will be getting other horror movies made that are within this budget range. Like this is 18 million, like it's not exactly mid-range, but it's not like low budget either. So that is promising. I know like Thanksgiving and Hard Eyes were around the same number, so I think that it's a safe bet for studios to kind of take a risk on slasher movies like this. I know the Scream budgets are a little bit higher, but those typically bring in more money. But Yeah, there's a lot I want to talk about. I want to talk with you guys about it and just like answer questions and stuff. And of course, if you would like to have your question bumped up, you can always super chat. I just want to make sure that I have everything open just so I can see if something comes in because I don't know. It doesn't show up on the app here. I don't know if it shows up on my phone, but just in case. So, yeah. Okay. This it's kind of crazy. Like I was just looking at the production notes of the movie and stuff. Like this started filming in October, so not very long ago. Like it's just I imagine that they were there for like a couple of months at least. Jennifer Love Hewitt was not officially announced until December 13th. So she wasn't in Australia when they were doing everything over there. And then reshoots occurred in February and March of this year. And beyond that, there were then additional reshoots that were done last month. So literally a month ago, they were still filming the movie. And this apparently, and I read this on Wikipedia, so, you can't trust it completely, but this was Danica's see like just to show like her washing up on shore and basically all the stuff with her and Ava at the end. Like it was a brand new ending that that they filmed. Hey, Sarah Campbell, thank you for the super chats. Let the super chats begin. Hey, I'm moving. I don't like. I've kind of managed to set up my studio in a little bit nicer than it was when I recorded the last video. But yeah, moving expenses are tough. So I have like a week and a half and I leave. So hopefully I can figure everything out and get it set up there. But thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Um, but yeah, this movie, the turnaround for this is insane because whatever the situation is, like filming in October for however long they were in Australia, and then pick up shots in February, March, and then again in June. Like when they released the trailer for this movie, they still hadn't finished post production. Like the picture lock for this movie did not occur until probably a month before its release. So in that regard, like I can look at this movie and appreciate the struggle that went into this because I don't believe at all that this is the version of the movie that Jennifer Robinson, the director, had in mind. I think that there was a lot of studio interference. I think there was just a lot of things that were up in the air, mostly to do with Jennifer Love Hewitt's schedule and contract and all that stuff. And ultimately, it led to the movie we got. So watching this, like there was a lot of like the editing was not great. You could really tell like things were kind of hastily put together. Like it felt to me like this is my belief, and whether or not this is true or not, like this is just my perception from watching it, is that they or Jennifer Robinson had the idea for the script that included Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt. And the idea was that, I mean, I'm assuming that like Ray was always the killer. We've heard Freddie Prinze Jr. talk about like his coming on board, and he was sort of like the first person that was brought in. So from that point on, it was just a matter of like, can we get Julie back as well? And it just based on like the difficulty with her schedule and everything and whatever her contract was, I imagine that probably there was a script that had a lot of Julie involvement in it, and the studio was like, okay, we don't know if we're going to get her, so we need you to rewrite this in a way where Julie is in it in a limited capacity. But if we're not able to get her, because we have a deadline for this movie, they clearly wanted to rush it. If they did not get her, we have to be able to trim out any scene that would involve her or any like dialogue that would involve her. So like in scenes where they're like in Ray's bar and Ava's talking about having gone and visited Julie that day and yada yada yada, that could have easily been cut out had Jennifer Love Hewitt never signed on it. And it really felt like there was two different movies that were put together here. And it was annoying because it didn't feel like I love Jennifer Love Hewitt. I've never really been a big fan of Julie. At least, like I liked her, and I still know a lot more than the first movie. But I was excited to see her back. Like I wanted her to have her glory, her Jamie Lee Curtis, Nev Campbell moment, and it she just felt so shoehorned in. And I know that she wanted to do more than just a cameo. She wanted to be involved, but it really felt like just with the limitations that the production was facing, like that is the most they could do with her. And her standing there at the end and yelling at Ray, like, what are you waiting for? It's like she was just ready to like give herself over to him, like just be murdered by him. And I mean, maybe she saw Ava behind him with the harpoon spear gun situation, but it didn't read that way to me. But it didn't feel like final girl energy, which I never really got from Julie, other than I still know what you did last summer. So it felt very rushed. It felt like the first act of the movie where neither Ray or Julie were involved really, like felt pretty solid. Like the setup seemed to be pretty coherent. Everything was moving in the direction that it should. And then once we got into the second act, so I'd say like after Wyatt, Danica's fiance number two, was killed, that's when like act two started. And it felt like there was like either a prolonged act two, or it's like act two happened and then we went into like another act two, because it didn't feel like a finale. It didn't feel like we were getting to a climax until we were just suddenly there. And it felt very rushed. And it was like, if you remember the Candyman reboot, like I thought that was a good movie, but the ending definitely left a lot to be desired. It felt very rushed. And that was the situation here. So yeah, it really, for me, like at least it just seemed like this was a case where there was like several movies that they wanted the best of a situation, but it's just because they had to cram everything in, it just became a lesser version of both of those movies. And the thing is, like, production, like the movie looks good. It's like it's got color. I have all the movies here in front of me just to showcase, and I've watched them all recently. And we did a podcast episode for my podcast, The Cherry Picker. If you guys don't know about it, check it out. The links are in my bio here. But this movie's horrible, and it's so desaturated of any color or life or anything. So it's nice to see that back here, at least. I don't think that like this is not a bad looking movie. I don't think that like I think that like production wise they did the best they could with what they had. My issues with this movie start with the script, and I think that that's like any issues with the production starts at the script. If you have a script that is inherently flawed and is not going to work, that's where stuff like this is going to happen, where you get into production and you realize, okay, we can't do that. We're gonna have to change the story to do this. And once you change the script and the story, things just start like don't really flow. There's no fluidity to anything, and that's why like this feels so disjointed and broken up tonally, even. So I'm very curious. Like I know that like the Scream 5 and Scream 6 scripts leaked online. So I'm really hoping that this script is leaked online, because I want to read that script. I want to know what this movie was originally supposed to be. I've talked to someone who went to a test screening, and from what I understand, this was like in April. So much was changed from April until July in terms of what they did. Like it was a shorter movie. There were scenes in there that were cut. Obviously, like the ones with Nicolas Chavez was just taken out completely, which was supposed to be like a retelling of an urban legend. So there's a lot more going on. Like there might have been more explanation because I feel like especially with the killer reveals, it's just like there was a lot that left me like wondering like what was going on. It was very unclear. The whole thing with Ray and Stevie. My biggest gripe with the movie, and the one that I've talked about this with Scream 6, because Scream 6 did this same thing where they are like the movie is directly lying to the audience. It's doing the thing where both killers, Ray and Stevie, are alone together, whether that's in a room or like in the back of the bar or whatever, outside loading up the truck. And they're going on like they're performing for other people, but there's no one else around there for them to perform to. So essentially, they're just performing for this audience that like they can't see. And I'm trying to like I'm gonna see the movie again because I want to like see if there is some sort of perspective shift that would make it make sense. But the first instance is Ray brooding in the back of the bar after the town meeting, and Stevie being like, "How come you never told me this thing about your past?" And he says it's not something I like to talk about. Right there, like they are in cahoots. They have been scheming together. Like, what did he not tell her certain things? Like, this must have been like there's no way around that, you know? So right away, them being alone and having that conversation, that is just a betrayal of logic. It's just bad faith storytelling. It pisses me off so much. Like, that's why, like, people are like, you can do a Who Killed Who, and I Know What You Did last summer, 2025. It doesn't make sense. There's no way to comprehend logic. There's just so much mental gymnastics that you have to do. Hey, Garrison, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. And the second instance of a scene like this was the scene where they're loading up the truck, and this like Teddy and Milo have just been killed, and Stevie is calling their phones. For what reason, I have no idea, because there was nothing established that she was trying to like see where the phones were or whatever. And Ray comes out and he's just like, "It's okay. I'm sure they're fine." Like, dude, both of you just killed them. So that to me, like, that's just disrespectful of the audience. It's bad screenwriting. It's just like that takes me out of it. That is distracting to me. And there was a lot of things that were very distracting in this movie to me. Anyway, I've prattled on a lot, so I want to like answer some of your guys's questions or comments here. Matthias, fan pleasing is a big F no in horror movies after this. Scream ruined the hell out of it. Later movies, and now this, Julie and Ray, just nothing. Julie, no feelings at all in the end. Okay, so with Julie and Ray, I liked their dynamic. This is the most interesting they've ever been. But you know, they come together, like shows up at her house, they're having this conversation that's just very like tense and awkward. And the movie never explains like how this came to be. Like, how did they end up not being married anymore? Like, what was the turning point there? The movie's just never interested in answering that question. It's not even really suggested or hinted at in any way. It's just like, we hate each other. And like to the point where it's just like, I thought you were the killer. I would have preferred the killer rather than you. And it's like, it just left me wanting more. I wanted to I'm interested in these characters. I want to know the relationship. I want to know all this stuff. Like, you even go back to like Stevie and her motive for doing this. Like, none of it was elaborated on. None of it was developed in a way that was satisfactory or that like we could understand it. I want to actually make a poll. I don't know how to do it on my phone because I just want to see like who liked this movie and who did not. So let's see. Did you like the movie? Simple enough. So yeah, I'm curious because I know like it's very divisive. I know there's people who have said like this better than the Scream uh legacy sequels, and then there's other people who like me are just like, oh my god, this was so bad. And all valid points. Like, here's the thing. So you guys know I hated Scream 6 a lot. I absolutely hold Scream to a higher standard, like as a franchise. And after watching this, I kind of walked out of it. I'm like, oh my god, like it made me appreciate Scream 6 a little bit more. But I don't know. That's the thing. It's just like I'm so like enmeshed in just like trying to understand this movie and just like all the flaws of it, that I'm kind of like, I don't know, like I don't think that my opinion is going to change. I think this is a bad movie, but it might be a there are things about it that I enjoy. I don't think that this is a movie that I would like watch again and like be very like hooked in, no pun intended. Because I find that at least for me, like once we started getting into the second act, it kind of went on autopilot. Like all the stuff with like Pastor Judah and stuff that turned out to be irrelevant, like completely irrelevant, could have been removed, and I can just see that like kind of like being a thing that turns me off like on rewatches. Stephen Thomas, thank you for the 1999. Hey Zach, you're my favorite horror channel. Congrats on the move. Question: overall thoughts on The Fisherman? More sneaky than the 90s version and less menacing. That's thank you, Stephen. Actually, the Fisherman was actually one aspect of the movie that I liked, and I think it's because he or she was using more implements than just the hook. We had the spear gun, we had the garroting wire, or however you pronounce that. Was there something else? It felt like there was a little bit more diversity. I liked the look of it. There's like a giallo-esque aspect of it, just like seeing the gloves and the boots a lot. So I actually think that like the fisherman was executed pretty well. I don't think that he was ever scary, and I've never been afraid of the fisherman and the other I Know What You Did Last Summer movies, but I think like overall, like I have no complaints. I mean, for something that's just a basic like slicker, um, they did pretty good with it. So that's my opinion on that. But gosh, what was I saying before? There's so much to say that I'm gonna lose my thought process. Smithy, the ending between Ava and Danica was so strange to me. It was like they were both high on painkillers, which would make sense, but was so strange, and the dialogue felt very off. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like that was footage that was filmed a month ago, or like a month and a half. Like that was filmed in early June. So it felt very detached. It felt like they were getting out of rehab. That was the sense that I got. And you had to question like why aren't the parents there? Which, I mean, that's just more actors to cast. And I know that like they shot in Australia, and we saw Danica's parents at the engagement party, the first one. So I mean, they wouldn't have probably been able to get those actors back. That would have been very expensive to fly day players from Australia out to Los Angeles. But yeah, I was just like, there was a question like, where are the parents during all of this? But I guess we never really saw them in the original. But yeah, the tonal inconsistency, and just sort of like the this them sitting on the beach and having this conversation and just being like, oh, by the way, Stevie is still alive. Like, way to bury the lead. Like, just it's like yada yada yada. You're like a mermaid. Oh, by the way, this girl who we thought was our friend who tried to murder us is alive and at large. And okay, let's talk about the Stevie of it all, because this is where like a lot of my confusion comes in terms of the plan between the two of them, because the way that it is framed in the movie, it makes it very clear that like they're not working together, or just seems like they're not working together. Like obviously they are, but it's like he betrayed her and he shot her, and there's no mention of this. Apparently there was in like footage that they cut where Ray like explains like, oh, it was blanks that I shot her with. And but he does say like, is she dead? You know, like kind of like alluding to it. But it's like, why? What was the purpose of that? Why go through that rigmarole? Why did they need to set Stevie up as this, like basically like to take the fall for everything? Like it would have made more sense for them to just sort of like kill everyone except for Ava, because I guess they didn't want to kill Ava, and more on that in a second. But it would just make more sense to just kill everyone and then just be like, I don't, what happened? It wasn't us, surely, and Ava would have been none the wiser. So it just seemed weird that they had to like set up Stevie that way. But the thing is, we don't see Stevie afterwards. There, that was the original ending, and it was just cut. So Stevie is like apparently at large. The last time we see her is like she gets shot off a boat. We're just supposed to assume that she's dead. And there's just dialogue saying, oh, by the way, Stevie's still alive. And then the news report of like Stevie is at large. And somehow targeting Carla for reasons. So it felt very mishandled in that sense about like all of that. And then even just like the genesis of like the car crash and all of that, because you know in the original it made sense, like there was just the everything that happened, it felt like there were stakes. Here it didn't feel like there was any. It was just like, don't worry, our parents are going to cover this up, or like Teddy's dad, it's going to be fine. It really felt like this is not a thing. And it's just weird that like Stevie didn't realize like that was her boyfriend that was going over the cliff. And beyond that, would they have even gotten in that much trouble? Like at most, reckless endangerment. That car came speeding around the corner. Like that is not their fault. Reckless endangerment for like standing in the middle of the road, which I mean, who was even there to see it? But regardless, that wouldn't have been manslaughter or anything, at least in terms of like my understanding of the law, which is not like all knowing or anything. But there was like this big to do about that really amounted to nothing. And like the guy like punched through the glass like very violently and like grabbed Teddy's jacket, which I guess was an homage to like Ben grabbing Helen's crown in the first movie. But like nothing came of that. They didn't like go down and like have to get the jacket. The jacket was like nothing. It was just, I guess, an homage to Ray's jacket and Helen's crown. So there's just like a lot of things that were set up, and then this whole misdirect with Pastor Judah and like this whole thing that just, it feels like it just meanders. And that's the thing. It just like, we're going from like point A to point B to point C to point D, that like none of that stuff could have happened, and none of it mattered. None of it meant anything other than to like, I guess like this mid-movie introduction of this reverend to make him seem suspicious. But it's just funny that they go to this church and Danica like finds this book. I don't even remember. Like that's the thing. It's just like, it's so hazy for me of just like what one lead brought to another. But they're in this church and they don't notice this big display at the front that has the picture of Stevie and the guy. I forget. I was Sam Cooper. But when the cops go there later, the guy notices it right away. And it's like, this is a non-character. This is just, there's no stakes in it for this guy to notice Stevie. And then we get like this double reveal. Like Stevie is revealed in this picture. And then it kind of takes all of the thunder out of her actually taking the slicker off and unveiling herself. So it didn't feel like anything was really well thought through. Which is, again, why I want to read this script. I want to see how similar things were to what happened in the actual movie. Because, I mean, like, it could have been anything. It's just, it didn't have to be another car crash on that bend. And if they were wanting to do, like, a legacy sequel and actually, like, emulate or evoke what the original was, there were so many things that could have been done. Like, that's the thing. It's just like the vibes of the original are not here. This doesn't feel like this sleepy fishing town. Like it's been transformed to like the Hamptons of the South or whatever with all this gentrification. And it's if they had like there's allusions to things like we see the croaker float, and I guess Danica is like she just mentions she was a croaker queen and has this connection with Helen and all that. But it's just like it was just there. Like where was the parade? Where was all this stuff that is actually that is interesting and just like and create sets the tone and the atmosphere and creates those vibes. So I had mentioned right Ava because they didn't want to kill Ava, or Stevie didn't want to kill Ava because I guess Ava was the only one that wanted to do the right thing. But then why was Ray trying to kill her in the old Helen Shivers department store? Um, it doesn't make sense. And this is, let's get into the Ray of it all because Ray, I don't mind the twist. I liked the twist that he was the killer. I think that it's actually it makes sense because if you go back and you watch the first two movies, he's a bit nuts. Like he gets that gun in the sequel. He gets the gun from the pawn shop. Like he's just like down to business with that. He pulls the gun on the guy at the ferry boat guy, essentially like stealing the boat and all. Like he's reckless. Like he has a dark side to him. So I buy it. Like I buy that character getting that messed up that he would resort to something like this. The problem that I have inherently is that it's never elaborated on. It's never really delved into. We don't understand Ray's point of view from an emotional standpoint. We can't empathize with him. We're to the point where like it's not nothing is really given to us other than his speech at the end that the town forgot about it, like they buried this and yada yada yada. So okay, great. Like let's elaborate on like you're just because right now you're killing people because you're pissed off that everything's been gentrified and this story was covered up. Firstly, you covered it up. You in 1997, 1996 through to at least beyond the first movie, they were keeping this a secret. We never find out how that information eventually came to be. It is like that's the thing. This was a dark secret that the two of them held on to, and at no point other than like her telling Carla and the other guys on the island that this is something that happened 2 summers ago. It has never been spoken to anyone. I mean, clearly people found out about it, but then the town just decided to hide it. So hypocrisy number one. And I will give the movie this because Ben Willis is a huge hypocrite in the first two movies. I mean, like he murdered a guy and then karma got back at him by having these teenagers hit him. But then he decided to make it his life's mission to go and kill them and have this obsession with killing Julie, which is like, dude, you got, just accept it. So I can accept the hypocrisy of these characters, but I wanted more. I wanted more to understand Ray's point of view and the inconsistencies because regardless of like whether he is killing like they're just killing people who like were involved or like covered it up or whatever. But why go after Tyler, the podcast lady girl? Because her whole thing was wanting to like expose the story and just make sure that people were aware of it. So like in a way, like she is kind of touting Ray's mission of just like letting people remember that this is something that happened. So very strange that they would make it a plan to go to this like the Shivers department store and murder her, but also like attack Ava and like he went after her legitimately. So it doesn't make any sense unless he felt for some reason that Tyler was going to stumble upon the truth or expose it. But that poor gravekeeper guy, he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I guess he was like gonna find the video surveillance, but I mean, then just deactivate it, destroy it. Like they murdered a dude that had nothing to do with this. And if that's the case of just like we were trying to cover up like who saw or like who brought the flowers to the grave, then don't bring the flowers to the grave. Like they're kind of inept, these killers, in a way. Like don't put yourself in position that is going to get you exposed. So a lot of that, like that scene felt like it could have been cut out. Like that, there was no need to even have that in there. And then why kill Wyatt? What the fiance? He had nothing to do about it. Like as far as I know, he didn't know about it. Like Danica didn't tell him when she got the card. She told him to like go show everybody the pool. Like he was none the wiser. So it's just like this hypocrisy of like we're gonna kill the people who were covering this up and whatnot, but we're also gonna kill these innocent people as well. And I mean, with Ben Willis, it makes sense because he is a psychopath, and that was elaborated on in the sequel. But with Ray, like it just there's so many questions and none of them are answered. None of them are answered. So yeah, I have a lot of issues with that. Um, Garrison. She was a Helen Stan. He was jealous. Um, Joe W. Psycho 2 is technically a legacy sequel with an all adult cast. Yeah, well, Psycho 2 came out, what was it, like 22, 23 years after the original. So, yeah, I guess technically. Are we talking about how this is a movie about teenagers again? I mean, technically they're young adults. They're college age, which, by the way, the setup for them I felt was very like they're very one note. But I know like all I know about Milo is like your big political job, and like all this like whatever. I had no idea what Ava was doing. Um, as far as like Teddy was concerned, I get like he was the heir to this real estate development empire in Southport, but yeah, they needed a little bit more. Like I thought that, I mean, I said this in my review. I think that Teddy is the best character in the movie. He was the one that just felt like the most real person to me out of everybody. I think that he was kind of a shit at the beginning, but he turned out to be the one who, like, at least, like, I felt like his emotions expressed through his actions and, like, everything that happened. He had an arc. And I know, like, a lot of people are praising Danica and saying that she was the best character, but it's like, I got really tired of her. I thought the actors were great. I like that actress. The character was just like nothing to me. The fact that like her fiance dies and then they're like having a sleepover that night, and that was the first moment where it started to lull for me. And she's having this conversation with Ava about like, oh, our friendship and yada yada. Like your fiance was just murdered and you stumbled upon his body. I don't think that this is a priority right now. And she got over him very quickly. Extremely quickly. Sir Magnus, I guess my question would be the same as they said in Halloween 2018. Would it really be that big of a story? Also, does anyone learn about the sequel? I mean, yeah, the thing, it's just like, I don't know. Like I guess if you have enough money and power, like we've seen Disney do it, they can make things disappear off of the internet that are scandalous. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's murders and stuff and you can find enough. I think for something as big as that though, that like then transpire to like murders in the Bahamas the next year, I think would be a little bit more well known. And not that we're including the third movie as canon, but there is a point where the characters find an article that explains the events of the first two movies, and this was 2006. So who knows if you want to consider that movie canon, which I think a lot of people don't. But yeah, the only allusion to I still know, besides Brandy's cameo at the end, was the joke about them saying like, "Let's just go to the Bahamas," and Freddie Ray just being like, "For reasons I can't get into, that is not a good idea." Uh, Hesera. Do you think that Danica should have died like she did in the test screening? I mean, I didn't see the test screening. I imagine it's just the same scene. It's just that she didn't show up at the end. I mean, it was a weak kill if it was her death. So maybe it's better that she lived. But I mean, it's neither here nor there for me. Like I could care less. I wasn't expecting this. Like I liked Ava a lot more than I thought I would. Like I didn't think she was a great final girl character or anything, but she wasn't as like I guess just based on like Julie from the original, I was expecting her to be like another wet blanket type thing. And I mean, like, there's a lot of similarities, but I felt that she was a little bit more livelier and upbeat. That, you know, I probably liked her more than Danica, but Teddy was definitely my favorite. I didn't like how I didn't like his death scene. I think that he should have lived. I think it should have been a final boy situation personally. But it was a mistake, in my opinion, that they killed him first and then allowed his father to discover him, only for the father to get killed. I think that it should have been the reverse of that. Like, Teddy is the character that we have access to. He's the one that we care about. We don't care about his dad, so his dad discovering him dead, like, really does nothing for us. So I think that should have been reversed. Also, what was their house? Like, was anyone confused? Like, he goes into this, like, mine shaft. Like, we're suddenly in My Bloody Valentine, and he's walking through this thing. Like, that is one thing about this movie that I was very confused about. I never knew where any of them were. I didn't know whose house they were at. I didn't know what was a house and what was like a museum or like a cave or whatever. Like, it wasn't very clear. Like, the set design for this movie was like, it was interesting, but it was very confusing. So I that scene in particular kind of caught me off guard. Especially, like, how does he not notice the fisherman standing right there? And by the way, so this is another thing from the test screening that I know, because there is a very choppy edit where he gets the upper hand, Teddy, against the fisherman and like spits on him. And then the next time we see him, he's like crawling away, like suffering stab wounds. And then the killer catches up to him. Apparently, after he had got the upper hand on the fisherman, another fisherman came and like knocked him down from behind. So I suppose that was like they took that out because it was like revealing that there was two of them and they didn't want to do that. Which would be my only guess. I think they should have just kept it in. I think it would have been fun to just tease the fact that there were two of them. Michael Chin, thank you for the $10. Stevie's backstory that was brought up in the beginning of the movie had the same vibes as Quinn saying her brother died in a car crash in Scream 6. Kind of like, pay attention to this for later. Yeah, I mean, I would have to see it again because there was... I went into the movie just assuming that Stevie was the killer. Like, she was my killer prediction. I did not see Ray being the killer. I would have never assumed that like they would bring legacy characters back to have them be the killer. Like, I thought he would die. I thought he would go the way of Dewey. So I appreciate the bold swing. I think it actually makes sense for Ray. I just don't think that they allowed it to make sense for the movie. But yeah, with Stevie, like there was a lot of things that just I couldn't keep up with because I wasn't sure what was relevant. There were like things were shifting all over the place just by the very nature of this being cobbled together from like shoots and reshoots and additional reshoots. That there was information that was like really hard to gather. And then of course there was like the two scenes of like bad faith storytelling showing us the two killers together in the same space with no one else around and performing for each other like they're not the killers. Like it's ridiculous. So I when it comes to logic for this movie, I don't really know. Um, but yeah, if there was more to it, in like Stevie's uh, description of events at the beginning, other things got in the way and were confusing and got lost in the shuffle. But yeah, the pastor coming in and all that stuff about him, it was just very clear misdirection, but like misdirection that really didn't serve any context to anything in the story. It won't make a profit after marketing, usually double and a half. Pizzigio. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's the first weekend. Um, it might drop drastically, especially like word of mouth if like a lot of people are not into it. But I'm just noticing the poll I posted, 72% liked the movie. That was the question. Like, did you like this movie? Yeah. So I'm glad that people are taking to it. Like I said, I didn't have a bad time. I'm gonna see it again. I'm gonna own it. Um, but it's the script was not good, and it really needed a lot more development. But I don't know what the situation was. I don't know what was going on with pre-production, post production, all that. It just seemed like the studio just wanted it out there. Like I said, I don't think that. I mean, I would be surprised if this was Jennifer Robinson's final vision for the movie. I want to see that script online at some point. And I mean, based on my own experience, because we just filmed Macabre, like my short film, and this was back in November, and it like post production was crazy. Like it for us, it just and this is a 17-minute film, and it took months. So for like that's like 15% of like what the runtime is of I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is like 111 minutes. So just like imagine that 15% of runtime and how long it took us to finish post production, and then for them. And of course, this is a studio situation. There's a lot of people involved, but I empathize with like this scenario because like you run into these issues and there's a lot of things that come up and you don't really get what you want, and it's just like it becomes very frustrating. So I mean, I hope that they're satisfied with what the final product was. I just don't think that was what it was supposed to be. But I'm glad that there are people who really like it. It's funny because it is a very polarizing movie, just based on a lot of factors. But yeah, we'll see how it evolves over time. Like what people think about it. Like this is not a Showgirls situation, which I mean was just like famously hated and panned when that came out. And I mean, like, I think that movie is fantastic. I love that movie. So yeah, I don't, not to say that this is on the same level as a Showgirls, but time will tell. I think that just based on like the poor screenplay, it wouldn't, because I mean this is a famous Alfred Hitchcock quote: the most important thing about any film is the script, and the script. Like I said, it all starts with the script. If your script is conducive for like a shooting schedule and just like without any production issues, and it just like everything is very streamlined and concise, it's going to be the movie that it's set out to be on paper. But in this case, when you make a script that's just like requires so many variables that might not fall into place, like you're gonna have issues, and the studio is gonna want to change things, especially in like this day and age where like there is so much studio meddling. Stacy Oddity, I love that he wasn't as mean as Ryan Phillippe's character. Teddy, yeah, and that actor Tyreek Withers, they all did a great job. I'm really interested in him. He's gonna be in the new Jordan Peele produced movie, which is coming out like next month or September. So yeah, keep an eye out for him. But I think that he did the best job of everyone in the movie. I think his character was that's the thing. Like his character might not have even been more or less interesting or deep than the others, but just like what he brought to it was something else. So I want to see him in more movies. I wanted him to live. I wanted him to be the final boy. That would have been something. But yeah, I mean, I guess they wanted to go a certain direction with this. Okay, one thing that we haven't talked about yet is the Sarah Michelle Gellar cameo. So I didn't like it. Here's the thing. I mean, I'm happy to see Sarah Michelle Gellar anywhere. Like, please let her be in all the movies. But that was not Helen. That was like this mean-spirited CGI demon that was inhabiting her body, but not even like her. It was just like Helen, like if she was still alive and Sarah Michelle Gellar's age now. And it felt weird. Like she was acting more like Catherine from Cruel Intentions, but not even like that character. It was just a very peculiar scene, and it felt tonally off from the movie. It didn't add anything. I knew that she was gonna have a cameo. I was told about this beforehand, so I was just kind of expecting it. I thought it was gonna happen in the graveyard scene, which would have probably been more fitting of just like her appearing as this ghost to Danica there, which then preceded the chase scene that we get. But yeah, like it upset me. Like, I mean, I'm not butthurt about it or anything, but it felt like another betrayal of something that we know just for the sake of like nostalgia and fan service and getting things in there. I know I get in a lot of trouble for this when I try to pitch my alternate ideas for movies, but the legacy sequel that I would have wanted to see for I Know What You Did Last Summer, because I know that they were trying to get Sarah Michelle Gellar back as Helen. I don't know what the scenario was, and her whole thing was like, I'm dead. The character's dead. I'm not going to do it. My pitch for the movie would have been the events of 1996 are canon. So like they hit the guy, they dump the body in the ocean, they make the pact, they go their separate ways. Nothing after that happens. This movie, so alternate timelines. I know Halloween, but I think it would have been really cool here. Alternate timeline, we jump forward 25, 30 years in the future. These characters, these four characters, so Freddie, or the actors like Freddie, Sarah, Jennifer, Ryan, all come back. They were the heartbeat of that original movie. Like that cast was the selling point. To have them come back, that would have been the vibe. And this time they're all estranged from each other. They have been living with this guilt for the past 25 years. And then now suddenly someone is like coming back and like threatening to expose them, and they have to come back together. I mean, does that sound like a cool idea, or am I just like pitching craziness? Ray could have still been the killer. He could have been the one to do the whole thing if they wanted to go that route. But that would have been a movie that I think would have really like generate. I mean, I don't. At least for the nostalgia crowd, for like the people who grew up with it, I think that they would have really appreciated it. I know I would have. But I mean, we have the movie that we had. I know a lot of people have talked about the Gen Z of it all, and I guess like the like the diva and like it's giving nuptials and like all that dialogue and stuff. And I mean, I just kind of like accept it. It's like we've seen it in everything, but I feel like it's like there's like a certain pandering to a Gen Z crowd, and I feel like it's not like it's doing a disservice. Like it's almost like underestimating. And I mean, like, I'm not Gen Z, obviously, so perhaps people in the chat who are Gen Z can speak to this, but I just feel like it's kind of like it's pandering to a stereotype or an idea, because I think that what people inherently want from a movie, what I go to a movie for, what anyone goes to a movie for, is to have like get the vibes, at least. Like we've seen this, I think, a really good example, like a show that I love, that is very popular right now, White Lotus. Like that is all about the vibes. That is what like creator Mike White says. Like he's making a show about vibes, and it's all about the characters. And I think that there's you can still have young characters can be interesting. They can be deep. They can have something to say, and they don't need to be like podcasters or like have like this like shtick or something. I think that there's like younger audiences can find younger and older characters appealing as long as they're interesting. And not to say that, I mean, yeah, I'm going to say like the characters in this movie, the younger characters are not that interesting to me. Um, we're doing this podcaster thing. It feels very niche in a way that's just like, it's almost like I'm gonna use Halloween Resurrection as an example here. When they made that movie, it's just like, what is popular right now? What is hot? Reality television, rap music, Tyra Banks, whatever. Like, let's get all of those things, like just the committee deciding, let's get all those things into a movie. So, flash forward 23 years, here we are, and it's just like, what is something that's like really interesting to people right now? Like podcasts about murder and horror movies and stuff like let's make this meta, things like that. So we're kind of like reaching into this area of just like, this is what kids are all about nowadays, when really it's not. It's just like a very small subsection about like a niche interest that is interesting, but it has nothing to do with the movie. I actually really liked the Tyler character, the podcaster. I thought that there should have been more of her in the movie. Um, that I feel was like a missed opportunity. Um, the okay, so I said this in my review. I didn't think that it was very suspenseful at all. Like the movie, like really, there wasn't really a lot of atmosphere or suspense, and it seemed like that set piece with Tyler in the Shivers department store was like going to be this chase scene, and there's this whole thing, and she's going up the elevator. It's the callback to the original, and then the next time we see her, she's just like standing up there. She's like slowly walking through this attic, and it's like, wouldn't she be like panicked or like trying to hide or something? And then just like, of course, the killer's right behind you because you didn't do anything. You didn't like make an attempt to escape. And then like there was the scene with Danica, and like she runs, like she's in a graveyard and she runs for like 2 seconds, and suddenly they're like at the warehouse where they keep the Croaker Queen float, which is like, that's a weird place to store it. But it's like, that is not a chase scene. It's like, that's like what Scream 4 and 5, and I'm sorry to say that even Scream 6 felt like, because I do not like Gale's chasing in Scream 6. I thought that it was very perfunctory, and like made the character unintelligent for just like the decisions that she made. But it's just like, for one thing that this franchise is known for, at least from 1 and 2, is these like epic chase scenes. And like you can't not do this movie without it. And again, I have no idea if that was the intention. Like I would assume that Jennifer Robinson would like know that and just like, this is, I want to have a big chase scene in here, and maybe the studio is like, no, it's running too long, you got to cut that, you can't have a chase scene last that long. And I don't understand that mentality. I did, like, this is suspense, like this is what people need. Like otherwise, what are we gonna have, just like these scenes of them like walking around town and like having the same expository conversations with each other over and over again? So uh perfunctory Nikov. I think that Gale should have died in Scream 6. Isaiah, no. No, not at all. There's a lot of characters who I think should have died in Scream 6, that did not. Everyone survived that movie, but that's another story. We're not here to talk about Scream, although it always comes out anyway. Tyler and Ava was just a flirt and unnecessary sex scene. They didn't done a thing about it. That was, yeah, it was just like, I guess trying to be edgy. Like let's let's put some lesbian stuff in here just to kind of like be like, okay, cool, yeah. Where was the okay? So I mean, there was all this like no homo bromance between um Teddy and Milo. What, act upon that, like equal opportunity for everyone. Let's just, if you're gonna do the gay, like be gay all the way, you know but it also just don't have it at all if that's the thing. If it's not important, if it's not contextual to the story, why have it? There didn't need to be this weird sexual relationship between Tyler and Ava. I actually forgot all about it until you mentioned it. Uh, but all the girls were pansexual, all the boys were sterile. Um, yeah. When Milo went to get his phone charger in the car and he started talking to himself, was anyone thinking, like, is he talking to someone? Because it seemed like he was talking to someone in the car. And it would have been interesting. It would have been very like Halloween original if the killer was in the back seat of the car. But his character, he was probably the one that just like, if he wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't have made a difference. And again, this is no knock against the cast at all. The cast did a great job with what they were given. But yeah, some of these characters, like you could have taken out Pastor Judah, you could have taken out Milo. I saw someone like say that like Stevie and Ava could have been combined into one character. I mean, like, yeah, that could have been a thing. And then have Danica and Teddy be the final couple. That would have been like a twist on the like the template of what the original was. Um, yeah, it's a lot of interesting decisions made in the movie that like just things that it felt like and I don't know if they were part of the reshoots, but just things to pad the runtime. Um, why was Stevie's article about her being the killer published so quickly to give Julie time to put together that Ray was also the killer? Plot convenience. What? So okay, because this is where I need to watch it again because didn't she just like she looked on like the website for Ray's bar and just saw the two of them together? I don't. Everything was moving so fast at that point that I wasn't really catching anything. But it's yeah, it just like the way that they put things together at the end, like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, it was you. Even the moment, okay, so when Ava realized that Ray was the killer, there was this quick flash of like editing. And I get that, like, like she sliced him or whatever, and like I guess he had like a bandage, but it was done so quickly that it didn't register. The same thing happened in Thanksgiving, and I don't know if anyone has not seen that wants to, so I'm gonna just be very careful to not reveal anything. But there was a moment at the end where like the final girl put something together of like who the killer was based on like these little like sticky um I don't know what the plant is, but it's just like those things where you're she's like running in a field and they like stick to your shoes because it like quickly showed this like flash cut of her getting it on her shoes, and then she noticed it on the killer's boots later, and I was so confused the first time I saw it. And it makes me think back to The Faculty, like a movie that like does something like this successful, because like when we find out who the mother queen alien is, there's the whole flashback that shows like what you thought you saw is not it, and we see like the pen cap come off and like the weird pinky slithery tentacle thing, even though that wasn't what was shown originally. But it like it established that moment. It gave it a moment to breathe and allowed the audience to understand things. I think that like movies nowadays, like they're so quick and rapid with like editing that they're not really understanding that like people need a little bit more. Like we need to understand something in a way that like allows us to process the moment and have like, oh my god, like that's the thing, because that would be like a really cool detail to establish. So you don't want to like rush through stuff like that. Um, but yeah, here we are. Um, yeah, Raven FX. Yeah, Julie knowing it was Ray was so lazy. If they had incorporated Julie in the story better, they could have had some cool forensic psychology aspect to Julie realizing it's Ray. Can I? Okay, I want to speak to Julie as a character and final girl. Um, in the original, we find out that like she's studying to become a lawyer. Like she's going to law school. That's her whole thing. And I mean, you're a lawyer, like you're I mean, obviously she's now a professor and she's like talks about fear and trauma, but like at the time in those movies, like you're a lawyer, lawyers are really good at debating, they're really good at like turning the tables around and like shining the light on like something, for instance, the hypocrisy of the killer trying to come after them. So that's why like it always felt like very like whatever that it was established like Julie is like going to law school, because there was a whole opportunity for her at the end of both the first two movies to like say to Ben Willis, like, dude, you like you're a hypocrite. Like you are going after us. You are a killer. This was karma. The universe came back and got you. You don't have a leg to stand on. Like your whole thing going after us is that like we deserve this because we did something bad. You did something bad. This is like even Steven. Like that I would have wanted that conversation. That would have made Julie so much cooler to me if she had just like started using her lawyer skills to just like make this guy realize that he's full of himself. And then even in the sequel, it's just like where you've now like you're doubling down and you've like planted your son in this friend group and you fake this trip to the Bahamas. And that's the thing, like the ending of like at least with like the first one, there's like this whole thing throughout the boat, like whatever. But in this, in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, they get to the grave and it's raining and storming, and he's like, Ben, son, don't you get it? Like, and Ben Willis shows up, and he's like, all right, no more time to run, no more hiding. Now's your time. Like, there's no monologue. There's nothing to even like go into. It would have been, it's like the Scream movies where like Scream 3 is a great example of this with Sydney's whole speech to Roman. Like, you know why you kill people, Roman? Because you choose to. It's nobody else's fault. Like, even if there was something like that that Julie got to do. And again, in this movie, like, she didn't really get that. It's just sort of like, why, Ray? Why? So, at the very least, like, if she's not going to, like, be a physical force in the finale here of like taking Ray down, at least like use your skills of like argument, like tune into something to like emotionally throw him off guard. And like Julie just didn't have any of that, and I'm really happy for Jennifer Love Hewitt. Like I think that you can tell, you know, that she's like very grateful for this movie and franchise and legacy and the opportunity to come back and do this. But the movie did her character no favors. I think that like she could have easily not been in it. I know that it was really important for her to not just be a cameo. But again, this comes back to the script. Like if you're trying to have the best of both worlds, like it might have just come down to a scenario where they should have been like, look, we need to develop the movie proper with these characters of Ray and Stevie, because having Julie in here to just show up and not do much is kind of like we're trying to satisfy too many things, and they are not congruous. They don't mesh well together. So instead of having like one really good movie, whether that be a movie about like Ray and Stevie and the new generation of kids, or a movie about Julie James, you're not gonna have the best of both worlds. So you may as well just pick one or the other. And I think that that's like inherently where the problem starts from the script. Um, and even in Scream 5, I think that I know a lot of people like that's a movie that has sort of undergone a backwards renaissance. We'll say I think a lot of people don't really like it now. I think it still handled like the legacy aspect of things really well to a point. I think that at least in terms of like what Sydney got to do in Scream 5 as compared to Scream 4, it felt like there was a lot more agency on her part. But the problem that I have with that movie there is that, and I've talked about this before, the characters come back because Sam essentially goes to like she seeks out Dewey. Dewey then calls Sydney. Gail is the like she's the one that like kind of comes out because of the news because she follows Ghostface. But all of that was kind of like set in motion because of Sam. And the killers at the end, Amber and Richie, are taking credit for like bringing the legacy characters back, which is just not. They didn't do that. It didn't happen. It's just like it's bullshit writing. And all the simple fix to that would have just been Amber saying, like we were just planning on going after Sam. It's a bonus that like you guys showed up here as well. So I feel like this is inherently the problem with these legacy sequels is that they are so focused on like let's just get the legacy characters in there like no matter what, that there's not really like they're missing the smaller details. They're missing like the things in the script that like okay, let's just pump the brakes for a second and make it make sense. Like studios are just getting a little too excited. They're just like, we're gonna do this. It doesn't matter how we present it. They just have to have a cool reveal of like turn around and like, oh my god, it's Jennifer Love Hewitt and like here comes Ray walking in to this town hall meeting. It's like it's more about the moment than the actual the justification and the rationalization of it. So it's one of those things where it doesn't take a lot. It just like you just look at the script. What minor thing can we change, whether that's a line of dialogue or what, to make this make sense, so that there's not this like plot hole or something that is making people like me who overthink everything clearly start to question stuff and poke holes in things. Because that's the thing, like and I know like a lot of people probably relate to this. Like you're watching a movie, as soon as something comes up that you don't understand or takes you out of it, like you start to realize I'm sitting in a theater and I'm watching a movie. And that's when you're watching a movie, that's the last thing you want to think is I'm watching a movie. You want to be engrossed in the story that's in front of you. You want to feel like this is an experience that you're having. So in this movie, for example, when there's all these moments, like when suddenly like Teddy is walking through this like mine shaft museum that is in his house, and I'm thinking like, where are they? Like that takes me out of it. When the scene in the graveyard when they're like, what about those cameras? And I don't know if anyone, maybe my theater is just like the screen wasn't as bright, but we look up to a tree. I didn't see any cameras, so I don't know what that shot was. It was confusing as hell to me. It took me out of it. But it's just there's so many instances within the movie where stuff like this happens that like pulls me out of it, and that's why it's like it's hard for me to consider this a good movie. But we're at 70% like it and 30% don't. So I guess the voices that I've heard or have been following online have just been very loud and vocal about not liking the movie, because it seems like there are more people that like it. Last time I checked, it was like 2.6 on Letterboxd. And I don't even know what I still know is. I know that these movies have never had a high score. So that's the thing. I went into this movie, I never had high expectations. I I had hoped for a little bit more, but I don't know. I'm glad it's doing moderately well. Like I hope it continues. I'm glad that people are liking it. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna add it to my huge collection. Um, I still know it's 2.4. Thank you, Amethyst. Um, Amazing Alec. The You're Next into the immediate Teddy death scene really threw me off too. Um, I don't even remember because he was at the sauna, and I guess that was Ray in there behind the steam, and just like writing "You're Next" on the thing there. Yeah, guys, I don't remember so much because it was like that second act. It just felt like 2 second acts, and just like things things just kept moving around. And once they discovered the bodies hanging there, it's just like it just sort of went into hyperspeed at the end. But gosh, what we haven't talked about the Brandy scene at the end. I'm curious to know what you all think of that because I enjoyed it. Here's the thing. So my friend and I went to like a 4 o'clock showing. So it wasn't packed or anything. Like there was a sufficient amount of people there though. As soon as the credits started rolling, everyone stood up and went away. I'm like, wait, you're gonna miss Brandy. Because I figured Brandy was going to be in the last scene. Actually, I think it had been spoiled for me at that point. But it was obvious. Like we knew Brandy was gonna come back in some way or another, and just like the the director and Jennifer Love Hewitt like teasing like stay for the credits, stay for the credits. So like everyone is getting up and leaving, and we were the only ones left. I think there was like a group of girls like just getting to the bottom of the stairs and like about to leave when the scene came on, and they stopped and like looked at it. But here we are like teasing a movie that like it just seems so much more interesting than the one that we got. And it doesn't make any sense. Like what I'm assuming that this message, I don't know why this message has been sent to Julie and not Carla, with like Carla's face xed out, but like why would if it is Stevie, why would Stevie care about Julie, and even more so why would Stevie care about Carla? Um I mean, I guess Julie, if she felt that she was responsible for Ray's death. But again, like, why is she even faking her death? Why didn't they just, if they didn't want to kill Ava, firstly, why attack her earlier? But like, don't reveal yourself in front of all these people. Do a better job, killers. Like that's the thing. If they spent more time not performing for each other while they were alone, and instead actually having conversations about how to properly cover their tracks so they're not like leaving video footage of them dropping flowers off at graves and whatnot, they might have gotten away with it. Just saying. Silent Saturn, who is leaving before at least the mid credits in this day and age? Come on, people. The attitude felt like from everyone that got up was just like, ugh, can't wait to leave. Like that, the theater did not seem to enjoy the movie, and they were all relatively younger. So I'm like, I don't know if they'd even seen the first or second movie, or the third one, or the TV series. Your guess is as good as mine. Eric, do a better job, movie. Adrian Phillips, OMG. The follow up is a team up in the Bahamas. Ray Bronson and Braun Rayson. Lock it in. Yeah. Ray has a son, and it's Braun Rayson. I mean, they may as well. That's the thing. This franchise has always been ridiculous. No matter how you cut it. Like even like look at the first movie. When she gets on that boat at the end, and when we're first introduced to Ben Willis, he has like a murder board, like his revenge planner, with all of these pictures of like Helen on the float that day, the characters that day, like pictures of them. It's like, dude, you've been doing so much. You've been running around stalking them, scaring them, taking photos, running to the photo lab to develop them because that's the thing. Nothing was digital, and getting these photos developed in like a few hours to hang them up on this board by chance that Julie is going to like wind up on the boat for this like 4th of July thing. Like it's so ridiculous. Like you can't help it. Just accept it for what it is. He took the pictures of Helen and ran over to the 1 hour photo. Exactly. That is exactly what happened. Sorry, I'm just a little parched here. Oh, Matthias. I watched it alone because I was bored at home, and I came home even more bored. The couple didn't say much afterwards. Tamika. I hope the movie makes money so we get Brandy and Julie team up a second time. I mean, yeah, like just give us that movie. Hybrid Gamer. So is the podcaster girl supposed to be the new Helen Shivers? She's hot blonde and died. Also, the fans love her. I think that like she was just Danica was like the Helen Shivers equivalent, like just I guess based on the very tenuous connections between them. And she's like, I was a Croaker Queen. And that's my vanity plate. And I had a nightmare about this demonic version of Helen with the CGI face and all that. No, the podcaster to me felt more like the that felt like a Halloween 2018 thing. With those podcasters. And even in that movie, that was like such an afterthought. So I guess that's the thing. It's just how do we like push this franchise into the modern day? Let's get podcasters. So yeah, that's I don't think that she was based on anyone. Cosmic Urgency. Nah, Ben definitely had a red room to develop his stalker pics himself. Did he just like do it on the boat? He just had his dark room to develop them there. Amethyst. Should Tyler have introduced herself as an investigative journalist? How does $3,000 sound? Yeah, and she should have gone to Julie and been like, I'll take my payment now. Michael Chin, thank you again. $5. Do you think the reason they have the killers pretend to one another is so they won't spoil the movie early on and it takes the mystery out? Curious. I mean, yeah, like the reason they're doing that is to misdirect the audience. That's the only reason, but it's not logical. It's not a rational thing to do, because it's just like realistically they are not going to be like when they're alone together are not going to be having those conversations. What Stevie would have said to Ray when she came into the back of the bar is like, okay, they're all like waiting outside. They seem pretty nervous. Now's the time. Like, let's just make sure that we hit all our points that we have to get them all scared and prepare ourselves for what we're gonna do. And then like later when they're loading up the truck, and I don't know why she's even calling the phones to begin with, but I mean, I guess it was just like if someone was to pick up the phones, it would be like an alibi, like, oh, where's my friends? Like, what? Who is this? Sort of thing. So, like that at least makes sense. But for Ray to say, I'm sure they'll be fine, like, no, his response would be like, okay, let's go like kill these bitches now. You know, like that's you just don't show those things. Like if you're like, look at the Scream franchise. Like, look at like Billy and Stu in the original. Like, this is like the interactions at the water fountain. Like that, it's like you don't notice it when you're first watching it, but when you go back and rewatch it, you're like, oh, this like interaction is like he's like telling him to shut up. Like you're like shut your mouth. You're gonna give us away. There was a bit in the script of the original like scary movie Scream where before the video store they're out walking alone and they're having this very ominous conversation with each other where they're just like, is everything ready for tonight? And they're like, yeah, we're good to go. And I mean, obviously that was cut or it just wasn't even filmed at all because Wes Craven knew, like, well, we can't show that. We can't reveal anything. Um, Scream 2. I always think Scream 2 did it the best because like there is no interaction between either of them, but it makes sense because like their whole scheme is like divide and conquer. Mrs. Loomis is following Gail. Mickey is following Sydney and her friends. So it's just like they can go and report back to each other. Obviously, Scream 3 is just romance. Scream 4, I don't think there really wasn't. There was nothing between Jill and Charlie at any point. Like they didn't really interact with each other, but they were like in the same space and like acknowledged one another at least like in terms of their presence. Um, but the only thing that I do remember about them is that they sat next to each other in class at school. That was the only thing. But five, I mean, even like with Scream 5, like there's the stuff between Amber and Richie, and I think that was all done very well. Like you can go back and you look at that and be like, oh yeah, like they're totally like have a existing relationship. Um, 6 is where they really fumbled it because with Quinn, when she's like laying in bed and she's on the phone, presumably with her father, and Ethan is in the room in the costume behind her, and she's just like, Dad, she's really scared. I think like, like we got to like, this is not a conversation. Like, unless there's like some sort of code that they're talking in, she's pretending like she doesn't realize that there's a killer standing behind her when it's like she knows what's happening. So that is a great example of just bad faith storytelling. That is cheating the audience. It is presenting a scenario that would never happen. And I guess I don't know, like why do they do it? Like if anyone is watching of like that is involved with I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream 6, don't do this. Stop doing this. It's just like it's bad. It pisses people off. Whew. Mrs. Loomis or Mickey killed Dawn. She left the house. You hear a dog barking and no more Dawn. Like Donnie, the others Omega Beta Zeta sorority girl. I don't know about that. We would have heard about that. It would have been all over the campus. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. Uh, Zoinks YT and Scream 7. Who do you think the killer is going to be? Um. Okay, so I have my video. You could check it out, but I mean, like, I'm not going to be dismissive. Like, check it out, but like, what I said in the video. There was 3 different scenarios, I believe. The first scenario, the one that I think is most likely, is that it is all the kids, like minus Sydney's daughter, and they're all kind of like, it's just like a group of ghost face killers that possibly are like being like their ringleader is the drama teacher of the school play, or maybe not, I don't know, but it was all 4 of them. The other what was I know the second one was that it was going to be Anna Camp's character and her son. um there's like Lucas was his name. She was Jessica. I already forget the names, and that's the thing. It's just like the names might change. Like they might have been just like code names. The third one, what was the third option? I don't even remember. I haven't thought about it for a while. But here's the thing: if it is the two, like the mother and son, possibly like he is not her actual son. He is a plant, like in a similar way that like Mrs. Loomis hired Mickey to like attend Windsor College. Like this woman played by Anna Camp hired this kid to pose as her son and like live in this suburban neighborhood. So that would be that, like, it's like not an actual family. And then her backstory, I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It's just like people are saying Leslie Mocker, but like Sydney would know who that is. Like, and here's the thing: I'm not gonna put it past the writers because I've seen Scream 5 and 6, and I know that there's a lot of plot holes that I think shouldn't be there. But like, that's the thing. I would always think like Gail and Sydney would know who Leslie Mocker is. They would know what she looked like, regardless if she had a makeover or whatever. Like, this is supposedly going to be Sydney's best friend and neighbor. Like, let's just be a little bit more realistic. So if it does turn out to be Leslie Mocker, like, I would be very disappointed. But I'm currently, I don't have a lot of hype for Scream 7, at least not until we start to see trailers. Like, I'm just sort of like waiting for that to happen, and then I'm sure I'll probably start getting all excited and stuff. But yeah, that's currently my position of who at least I think the killers are. I forgot who like the third option was. There's a lot of characters in that movie, so I'm not sure. The Motionless Day. The motive in Scream 7 has been said to be personal to the killer. I mean, it was personal last time. Adrian Phillips, not one something's fishy pun. If you're gonna be bad, be fun. Matthias, they don't call the missing so early on, and they had time to kill and hide her. No news or nothing came out directly after the death. Is this the Dawn thing? Anyway, my gosh, how much time do we have here? We'll see how this goes. I've got a lot of energy. There's quite a few people in here. Yeah, let's keep the I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream conversation going. Let's do another poll. What should the poll be? The line in the prediction video about Ray not being a fisherman anymore had me laughing for 5 minutes straight, because who would have known at the time that Ray was a fisherman? Did I miss your thoughts on the mid-credits scene? Yeah, I did talk about them. I said that it was, I would have rather seen that movie. I think that would have been a more fun movie if that had been the movie from the start. Let's go to the Bahamas. Let's go escape the person trying to kill us. To poll, how did you like the ending twist? Yeah, let's try that. Let me end this poll. All right. Like the twist. Okay, so I'm assuming like did you like the twist of Ray being the killer? Good question. Poll, were Stevie and Ray too telegraphed? No, they were like not, like there was nothing. There was no seed planted. Like every time we see her, it's just like she's a good kid. She didn't do anything. Like, yeah, Stevie was just a very underdeveloped character in her own right, and I felt that her reveal. So when she took off the slicker, and she, like, it looked like she was about to have a lot of fun. And I was excited for a second because I was waiting for a Brenda urban legend type monologue. And this is part of like the finale just being so rushed that we didn't get it. It was just like the scene was over before it started. And I love urban legend. I like urban legend way more than the original I Know What You Did Last Summer and the sequel. I still know, not Urban Legend Final Cut. But I always liked that movie more. I think that, just by the very nature of that character in the end and her whole spiel and just like having fun with it. Like that to me is camp. And I know that this, you know, there's been a lot of justification that this movie is camp. And the thing is, like, you can't make camp intentionally. Like, camp is something that just happens. And I mean, I can see a scenario like it, you know, with that, like urban legend. It's just like a lot of that does feel like it was intentionally made to be that way, but it might have been a little bit more serious. I actually did find the script for Urban Legend a few months back and read it, and it's so fascinating to read a script and like know the movie because of just like how much changes, and like Jamie Blanks did like such a phenomenal job bringing that script to life. But it's just like the Brenda in the script, just like like it was there, the pieces were there, but it just was not as fabulous as like how it turned out to be with Rebecca Gayheart. So I mean, I don't. Again, like this is all subjective. It's all like opinion based. Obviously, a lot of people like the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I don't think it's like saying that something is camp is really the like just like admit that like this is something that is like was just not developed properly or not written well enough, because I love camp. Like my favorite movies of like franchises, like I love Halloween 5. You're not going to find a bigger Halloween 5 fan than me. Maybe you will, and I want to meet that person. But like I will defend that movie with my very life if I have to. Friday the 13th Part 5. Love it. Don't know why it's so hated. Um, Even like, I mean, I wouldn't call Halloween 6 camp, but this movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer 25, made me think about Halloween 5 and 6 in a sense that those are both very fan fictiony, like Halloween 6 especially. But there's like with Halloween 5, that director came in and like really took a lot of creative liberties and just like we're gonna swing for the fences. And essentially it's like he did a thing and it like became someone else's problem. It's like we introduced the Man in Black, we introduced the Thorn Call and all that stuff, and now here you go, other director, you can take care of that now. So in a way, like unless like Jennifer Robinson is like, if there is a sequel and she's going to do it, they've like set themselves up for some like there's a lot of like like moving things around and trying to figure stuff out and make sense of it to like make a sequel at this point. So it feels like they just threw in everything that they could here, and now we're gonna be left with a situation where it's like, okay, we got to get real crazy, because like you look at Halloween 6 and like that movie is just, it's really kind of like it reinventing the wheel in terms of like the Michael Myers lore and stuff. And I why I like that movie as opposed to like maybe something like this is that there's a fluidity to it. It feels like it works, even though like the story is just sort of like meanders, and by the end of it, there's really no point to it. But I mean, there's a lot of suspense and atmosphere. The movie looks great. Like that is the thing. It's just like it's a scary movie, and I love the color grading. I love the cinematography, the lighting, all top notch. So it's, I know I'm kind of inconsistent because there's some movies where I say like it comes down to the script and the script has to be really good. Halloween 6 is an example of something that is like a terrible script, but it like the production is amazing. Like it looks great. So, I mean, there's a consistency at least throughout it, and I don't feel that consistency is here with I Know What You Did Last Summer, just in terms of like trying to make sense of like a big disaster, because obviously there was like reshoots for Halloween 6 and just like that ending that just doesn't make any sense, and like Dr. Loomis, I mean, depending on which ending you see, like either version of that movie is just incoherent to me. So I'm very curious if like the physical media release will have like all these deleted scenes. Um, I'd love to see the opening, the cut opening with Nicolas Chavez and uh, I'm sorry, I forget the actress's name, because that was just like cut, like literally last minute. They decided to take that out. Um, so just there's all this stuff, and what's interesting is like that would have been like a retelling of a story. There would have been kill scenes in that. That was something that like if they had kept it in, they could have used it in the marketing and teased those kills, because I know there was so like basically every kill of this movie was teased. They didn't tease the gravekeeper, I don't think, but like we saw the entire Wyatt kill. Um, I'm already forgetting who died in this. We Tyler, I mean, they basically showed us the moment that it happened, and stills of her hanging. We saw Billy Campbell's character, Teddy's dad, getting stabbed in the throat. It's pretty obvious. We saw like the scene of Teddy being like dragged away with the bloody prints being left behind. We saw Milo getting garroted. Am I saying that garroted or garroted? I'll just say strangled. It's easier. And then we saw the pastor, like, because he was like in that pose, and it's just like, oh, the cops are closing in on him. Like, that's a dead body that's going to be discovered. So yeah, they pretty much showed everything. They didn't show Ray, and they didn't show the gravekeeper. So yeah, I had no idea. So that was a surprise with the what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I did not know that she was screaming at Ray. Like I could not have predicted that. It looked like she was like looking up to like a second floor balcony or something. So just to know that that was that scene. And I know there was people saying that they weren't they didn't film together, which I guess has been debunked. Like they would have, because it was all shot in Los Angeles. Like they were together there. There's definitely like I don't remember, but I know a lot of it was over the shoulder. But I'm pretty sure that there were shots of them together in the same frame. But they would have had to have been in the scenes together. And I know like the promotional photo of like she's standing here, and that's quite clearly Freddie Prinze Jr., like the back of his head across from her. Adrian Phillips. OMG, the garroted mention. What have I started? This is as bad as Zach trying to pronounce Ted Levine. Levine. Did I get it wrong? Zoinks. I don't think Gail dies. She has been in every movie, and people are already mad Dewey died in Scream 5. Michael Chin. Julie and Ray have Gail and Dewey vibes when they was talking in Julie's house. I mean, Gail and Dewey vibes, like if they hated each other. And that conversation never really went anywhere either. Like here's the thing. It's just like, and this is another thing. It's another question that has been unanswered. Did Ray want to kill Julie? Like, did he want to draw her to Southport? Because it seemed the only reason he went there was to like criticize her for planting the seed in Ava's mind about like what to do about the situation. But it's just like there's a lot of things like Ray throughout the movie. It's not just the scenes that are just like him and Stevie alone that are betraying the logic. He's like bursting into that town hall meeting, and he's like, you need to get police on this. This is a big deal. Like, wouldn't he, in his scenario, be like, oh, we're going to be fine because the police aren't going to do anything. Like, why even instigate them to want to do, like, all he has to do is like lean back and be like, yeah, police are going to police in like the nothing way that they have been. So like his actions throughout the movie are just betray the logic of where it turns out at the end, which is why it doesn't make sense. Like, this is why like a who killed who is going to be very difficult. Like, I'm going to make that video and I'm just going to be like criticizing the shit out of it. But the scene with Tyler's death because she says, like, at that point, we know that she's just met Ava and Milo. And we know that Ava is downstairs. She's trapped in this cage situation that was like a crab lobster trap. Um, and Tyler unmasks the killer. And which I like. I like that's the thing. This is a trope that I miss of just like a character, and it's very Jallo. A character discovering the identity of the killer and then getting killed. We don't see they don't do that in Scream ever. I mean, they might have done it once, if I remember correctly. Oh, Casey at the beginning of the first movie. But yeah, she's like, I'm a big fan. So it's just like whatever the situation is, like she clearly knows who the person is. So it's just like it's either Milo or Ray. So it's just like it's there. It's like it's the evidence is put forth, but I don't know. I wasn't really thinking, like, I didn't go into the movie with a mindset of like, who is the killer? I didn't necessarily like think that there was going to be two killers. I wasn't operating under that mindset. I just wanted to go see the movie and like enjoy it for what it was. So, and I had already like just assumed that Stevie was the killer, so I just sort of was going off of that assumption the whole time. But I think like once I might have guessed that there would have been two killers once she was outside of the department store while Tyler was being chased and chased. Again, I use that word very, very flippantly. But yeah, that's I think where I thought like, oh, is there a second killer and who could it be? But I still like never thought for a second it was going to be Ray or any of that. So I mean, like for all intents and purposes, like the movie got me. Like I didn't see it coming. But still, like I'm just so disappointed by like how poorly developed and executed it was as a twist. Like I think it would have been a great thing to like just to go that route and have him be the killer, but just like make it make sense. Like I've never been attached to Julia and Ray in a way where I would have felt betrayed by it or upset. And like I said, it makes sense. Ray, as like we saw in like the first two movies, like he's very unpredictable. He's very capricious. He has like these violent, like not even violent, but just very like pendulous swings into like a different mindset where he just becomes very intense and serious. And he gets that gun from the pawn shop in the sequel and he goes after like he gets to like the ferry and he holds the guy up at gunpoint and essentially steals the boat and then takes the boat himself. And I guess, you know, he is a fisherman. Like he's not like green when it comes to taking a boat out onto uncertain waters. But it was all it's kind of behavior that, you know, would make you question like what is he capable of. So yeah, I love Brandy's Carla's reaction at the end to like watching the news and just being like, Jesus, like Ray tried to kill her, and she's just like, oh my god, like someone's always trying to kill that woman. Let's see, Matthias, the unmasking was lazy, just like Scream. I need a fight reveal. Just take off the mask in a fight. The podcaster took it off like a Scream movie. So bad. I liked it. I just didn't like the whole, you know, it was, it's you. Like, no, please don't. I'm, whatever she said. Um, Key Andre Bell Washington. I honestly think Ray as a character is not interesting, and Freddie Prinze Jr. never being that good of an actor doesn't help either. I know like Freddie has talked to like he's spoken to this, like he was doing press for this, and he talked about how like the younger actors like were doing a better job than he ever did in the beginning. And I think that, you know, like he's very humble about it. And I know like he didn't have the best experience working on that first movie because the director, he was not the first choice for the director, and I guess the director was like kind of like low-key abusive towards him throughout that experience and just like made it very difficult for him. Um, but the thing is, like, Rey is like kind of like the least used and least developed character of the first movie. Um, so I mean, it is what it is. Like, I think that he's having a good time here. Um, it was just it was what it was. I think that, like, it's great that he responded to the idea and wanted to do it. So I really have no gripes about it. I think that, like, yeah, I would definitely, like, classify, like, everything that happened in the sequel, like, and that movie's obviously camp, but I love the moment where he's being run down, like he's being chased in the car by Ben Willis on the highway, and he's running down the road, but he, like, spins around to, like, look back at the car, and he's just sort of, like, flailing about, and then obviously, like, jumps off the ledge, uh, or the side of the road. But no, like, everything, it's just like, it's excusable with these movies, because it's just like, these movies are not like, they probably, I wish that they had just leaned fully into the camp, because it doesn't feel like camp to me. Like I said, like, camp is just something that happens. Like, you have to embrace the ridiculousness of what the movie is, and I don't think it did that. I think that it still, like, took itself very seriously in parts, and just to clarify, I this doesn't mean that, like, the characters don't have to be, like, I think that the characters should always be serious, but I think that the tone of the movie can be lighter. It could be sillier. Like, very much like what Scary Movie is. Like, those, in those situations, those characters are fully taking, like, Anna Faris in those movies, like, just taking everything seriously, like it's like we're in an actual horror movie, but clearly the tone is satire, it's comedy. And that's what I get from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. It's like, this is clearly a ridiculous movie. Like, the whole thing with, like, the grave and, like, July 4th, like, Julie spray painted on there, and her asking Carla, "What's today's date?" It's July 4th. Like, that, they're being serious. Like, those characters are earnestly delivering this dialogues if they're in this scenario, but it's the movie itself is, like, telling us this is absolutely ridiculous, and that there, none of that is on the first movie. The first movie is very dire. It takes itself very seriously, and this movie, it vacillates between that, but I don't think it ever hits that extreme, which is why I can never consider this camp. I mean, I'd have to rewatch it several more times, but that's my interpretation of camp, at least. Garrison, thank you for the 4.99. The fiance's death scene could have been the opening. Then they come back. We get the flashback. Then go bonkers while Tyler investigates and is stalked. I thought that that's what they were going to do for a second. That we were going to, at least, like, based on the trailers, because it seemed like it just started in the present day, and then we're like, what happened a year ago? That might have been an interesting framing device, actually. And it would have been something that definitely made it feel fresh, or at least, like, different from the original. That's actually, Garrison, that's a really good idea, because this is, like, that would have allowed the movie, like, we don't even know what they did. It could have been set up that way, where it's just like, we're kind of discovering it as it goes along, and we know that they've done something, we know the concept of the movie, but it's like, what are they hiding, and allow the audience to, like, organically find that out over the course of the movie. I think that actually probably would have made this movie way better, if I can speak honestly. Uh, why buy my dudes? Your super chat makes me think the opening should be like the Bloodlines opening, like the first half being shorter. Bloodlines. There are so many. Are you talking about Final Destination? There's Bloodlines has been like Wrong Turn Bloodlines, Hellraiser Bloodlines. There's another one I'm forgetting, but I know that there's a bunch of them. Zoinks, what do you think Dewey's role in Scream 7 is going to be, considering he is supposed to be dead? It's AI. Any dead character coming back is just AI. That's what I think. Um, what's your opinions on Hannah being a Fisher woman on the sequel? She is with Stevie before the accident, and she is the part of the church group. Was that the same character? She was blonde though? Like the one from the beginning that we then see like cleaning the windows at the church. I don't. That wasn't the same character, was it? If it was, I, that did not register to me at all. Um, so I need to see it again. That's Larissa. Like you're just blowing my mind here. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea. Pet Cemetery Bloodlines. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, that's another one. Um, I know what you did last summer. Bloodlines. Um, all right, we got about like 3 minutes left here before I sign out because we're at the 2 hour mark. But let's see. Michael Chin, what's your view on Final Destination Bloodlines, by the way? Okay. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I liked it. I think that there's a lot of notes that I have just in terms of logic and stuff. I think that it could have been a little cleaner. I think it definitely started better than where it ended. Um, I liked the family bloodline aspect of it. I did not like the thing with the grandmother living on this compound, like Laurie Strode, made no sense to me. Like she is trying to avoid death. Why is she living in a place where there are like spikes everywhere? Like it didn't make sense to me. I've only seen it once and it was already like May, so it's like 2 months ago now. Gosh, that feels like forever ago. But yeah, I mean I've been rewatching them for the podcast. By the way, guys, if you are not familiar, because I know like this is a separate channel, but the Cherry Picker, my podcast, we do it once a week, or at least like 4 times a month. Like go over, subscribe, like if you want even more content, because like that's just I'm there all the time making content. So like check it out. Like me and my co-host Eddie. Um, Subscribe now, listen, and just so you can get more insight, because we just did Final Destination 4, which I think is the worst of the franchise. So yeah, we've been going through them. We still have to do 5 and then Bloodlines, and then I'll know like what my ranking is entirely. But yeah, so there's that. And also check out my Patreon. Like if you guys want a little bit more, I do make more content over there. And especially like if you are into the podcast, the I do these, like we record the podcast now as live streams. So I live stream like every Monday night, and then the episode goes up the next night. But you can join in and like chat and be part of the podcast with us. So if you head over to my Patreon and subscribe at the Freddy Krueger tier, it's $5 a month. You will get access to that. You also get to like nominate and vote on what movie you want us to cover for like the last episode of the month. I think next week it's going to be Death Becomes Her, but we will be covering I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 next month. So even more conversation to be had there, and I'll have Edward's opinions to bounce off of as well. But we just covered. I'll always I keep bringing. Yes, I own this movie on DVD. We just covered it a few weeks ago, and of course we've covered the first 2 movies in the past as well. So, and those I have on 4K if they'll ever go into focus, which they're not going to. But yeah, I'm gonna own this movie. I think it was a lot of fun, in spite of itself. Um, I think that it could have been a lot worse as my final thought, like it definitely could have been a lot worse. I think that in terms of knowing that like the production turnaround and everything that they had to go through of just like getting this movie made and the studio putting pressure on them, I think that the movie turned out like sufficiently well in that regard. But it's just like my gripe is with the script. It starts with the script. If they had just written the script, that it would be the movie that they did rather than create this like situation where you're going to have parallel universes where it's like we could go in this direction or we could go in this direction, but you can't have it this way. Like that's the thing that frustrated the whole process. So um yeah, I think that that's the root of it, like, and I've heard people talk about this before. It starts with the script. The script is the first part of it, and if there is any inherent flaws in the script, it's going to, mess up anything else down the line. Like it's just a domino effect of crap happening. Larissa, there's a deleted scene of Teddy's father going to Ray. Oh, hold on. Ray's bar and wanting to destroy the bar for building enterprises. That would have been something. That would have involved Ray or Ray and uh, Teddy's dad a lot more. Like that's the thing. Like the the promotion for this movie, and this is like the last thing I'll say before I sign off, because I don't think that this movie was promoted the best way it could. Like the promotion, like focusing more on like spoiling deaths and stuff like that, and really like keying into like the whole thing with the podcaster. Like I saw a lot of ads with like that character and just being like Southporters, like the murder, blah 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 blah, and et cetera and so forth. And that goes back to what I was saying about like it's trying to appeal to like this very niche crowd that's like, oh, podcasts about murder, that's interesting. I think that like when you're building a murder mystery, like take the Scream route. Like I think that the marketing for the last two Scream movies is much better than the movies that they actually turned out to be. But it's like set it up as a whodunit. Do you give every character like a little spotlight in the promotion, including these ones that are like were completely sidelined? Like give us stuff about Teddy's father or Pastor Judah, or like I'm trying to remember other like minor characters that showed up here and there in the movie, but like let that be a thing. Like engage with the audience in a way where like we get to meet these people and suspect them. Like make it about that. So it seemed like they really kind of doubled down on like showing us the kills and honestly the kills. Like I like that there was a variety of like the arsenal of what the fisherman was using, but I mean like for the most part like it just like it didn't do it. Like it did, like nothing was like really over the top in a way that was like gratifying or just like really indulged that bloodlust that like some of us like there for me, like I personally prefer suspense, and like I said, there wasn't really any suspense here. But then there's like the crowd that they're really into like the Terrifier movies, and you get like the splatter gore and all that, and there wasn't really anything in here either. So I don't feel like it was really satisfying one side of like the horror audience or another. Maybe people liked it for nostalgia. Maybe people liked it for like the Gen Z like younger character vibe, but yeah, it seemed like there was just and I said this in my review, when you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. And there obviously people are pleased, but I could have been pleaseder myself. Not a word, but I'm gonna put it there. What was the result for the? Did you like the twist of Ray being the killer? 52% yes, 47% no. So that's pretty pretty 50-50 there, which is interesting. I would have expected a little bit more of a wider margin. See, I'll keep posting that till Zach sees it. What am I missing? um uh do, do, do. CL, everything aside, Sarah Michelle Gellar made a surprise appearance at my screening last night, which was a dream come true. That is amazing. Was it the one that's like being posted all over social media where her nanny was there? Because that I love that. I love that she was blindsided by like they're like we're gonna go like surprise this audience, and then like lo and behold, she was the one who got the shock. Um, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm very jealous of you for that. Oh yeah, we do have the Buffy reboot coming out for SMG. Still don't know how I feel about that. That's one that I'm playing by ear, but I think it'll still be a while before we see that. Yeah, the nanny moment was so funny. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I wish that I mean I don't think that they're gonna make any surprise appearance in Calgary, but yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, well, thank you everyone for hanging out. This was fun. I mean I always say like we should do this more often, but I think I want to try to do it more often. So if I can find a way to make it work, I am moving in like a week and a half here, so things are going to be a little rocky for a bit until I set everything up again. I hate how like this is the third time now that I've had to like redo this thing behind me, and I already had to like move this shelf back for this live stream. But yeah, Sarah Campbell, if you enjoyed these streams and want to support the channel and be more involved in the community, please check out Patreon. Yeah, thank you for promoting that, Sarah. Appreciate it. Garrison, bye divas. Yeah, bye divas. Thank you for coming out, and yeah, let's do this again real soon. Be right back.